All right, so we're about ready to get started here on the webinar. Just a couple of introductory notes before we begin with the presentation. We do think it'll take just about 30 minutes. We do have two presenters today. I'm Eric Sungalo. I'm in the Office of Tax Policy Analysis here at the department, and I'll be joined by Dean Badar, and he's in our Transaction Field Audit Bureau. Although we won't be getting too in-depth on explaining like specific parts of our IDA forms, you may want to have them handy or available to look at during the webinar. If you don't have copies, you can just grab them on your browser, go to our website, tax.ny.gov, search IDA. Links to the forms will pop up in the top recommendation section. Also, there could be a time during the presentation where we tell you we're going to mute the call or the line temporarily. If we do that, we'll definitely let you know, and it doesn't mean that it's disconnected. We'll make it clear at the end when we're done. I'd just like to comment on our objective with the webinar today. Over the past couple of years, or definitely the last year, we've undertaken a project here to look at the processes we use to handle IDA filings, including our forms and our guidance. And we think it's been very worthwhile. Hopefully everyone saw our new tax bulletin on IDAs. We also updated a lot of our forms, ST60, 62, all the ones you're probably familiar with. That was about a year ago. Kind of behind the scenes, we've changed how we take those in and enter the data and track and store and image the forms and returns. So we think this has been a very useful project. So why are we having a webinar? Well, we decided just to supplement all those improvements with this presentation. So it's kind of like a one-stop resource for information on what form to file and when to file it and where to look for more information if you need it. Kind of like a summary of what you need to know about reporting to the tax department. And as I said, it'll be posted online for future reference if there are new staff or directors or anybody that needs this kind of quick overview of the tax requirements. We'll also go over briefly our audit responsibilities under the law, and we'll comment on some of the consequences if there's noncompliance with any of these requirements. So with that, we'll get started on the webinar, and we will begin just with an overview of the notification and reporting requirements. So here are the 5 basic requirements regarding sales tax reporting to the tax department. First is to notify us when you grant sales tax benefits to new projects or appoint a new agent. You know, we got to report the amount of state and local sales tax exemption benefits to us. The third, we want to know if there's a change to a prior appointment or change to the previously reported amount of tax benefits. And the last 2 are interrelated, and they regard recapturing and remittance of unauthorized state sales tax benefits and an annual compliance report that's filed concerning those recapture activities. No new requirements are announced today or covered because we'll just summarize the existing ones. The appointment of a new agent or when there's a new project with sales tax benefits has been around, a long time. And the others generally stem from that 2013 legislation related to IDAs. Technically, that was chapters 59 and 304 of the laws of 2013. So the notification and reporting in the first 2 bullets above there is done when the sales tax benefits are first granted, and the recapture requirements are done kind of on an ongoing basis. The compliance report is obviously a once-a-year thing, so we'll go on and look at these in a little more detail. So first, notification of the tax department when you grant sales tax benefits to new projects or agents. And I'm sure you know this is done with our Form ST60, the IDA appointment of project operator or agent for sales tax purposes. And it's basically a simple form. It asks for some information on the IDA, on the operator or the agent, and a little bit of information on the project itself. The ST60 form is due here to us within 30 days of the appointment. It's sent to the address for our IDA unit in our processing division at the address and the instructions. A couple reminders on this form. The IDA project number is something we need, and be sure that's on the form in the top right-hand corner. You'll see the box. We also need to know if the agent is directly appointed by the IDA, and there is a little checkbox for that. It's labeled if directly appointed, obviously. We do need to know the date of the appointment and the ending date of the appointment. And as always, sign and date the form. We can't finalize it without that. And obviously, there's no need to file an ST60 if there are no sales tax benefits that are extended to a project. So moving on to the second general requirement is to report the estimated amount of state and local sales tax benefits that are provided to an agent. We previously announced this requirement in a 2013 guidance document known as an end notice. You might have seen that on our site. And there's a 2014 technical memorandum that explained the requirement in a little more detail. Both of these on our website, obviously, if you don't have them. This report has to be made, again, within 30 days of granting the benefits. And since the ST60 is due in the same exact time frame, we just added the sales tax amount to that form. And I'd just like to draw your attention to the second bullet on the screen, which is to only include essentially the value of sales tax exemptions that stem from the IDA's tax-exempt status. So IDAs and their agents get the sales tax exemption because they're instrumentalities of the state. But otherwise, there's many types of goods and services that are exempt to everybody from sales tax, to all taxpayers. Some common examples here might be machinery and equipment, or supplies used in manufacturing property for sale. Another one is like solar energy systems or fuel cell generating equipment. There's many. Computers used to develop software for sale are exempt to all taxpayers. So tax savings from these types of exemptions should not be included in this number that's on the ST60. Only estimated sales tax savings from exemptions that occur because of the IDA's status as an exempt organization should be included in that figure. Third, the change to a prior appointment. Well, we just want to know if anything changes on a previous appointment that you made. So if there's a amendment or revocation, a cancellation of an agent appointment, please notify us within 30 days. To do this, send a letter to the address on the ST60 that explains the reason for it and the effective date. And it would be helpful to have a copy of the original ST60 that made the appointment. For the next requirement, we can go back to the 2013 law changes and our prior guidance on that in the TSBM, or the technical memorandum I mentioned. Now, these changes require that an IDA has to include certain terms and conditions, and these are described in the General Municipal Law, Section 875. Those have to be in the resolutions and project documents. The terms and conditions, these relate to the recapture of sales tax benefits. We'll cover that in a little more detail shortly. Secondly, related to recapturing and remittance, is that the IDA actually, must go ahead and recapture or claw back these unauthorized benefits. So we'll go into that a little more detail. So specifically, the IDA must recapture state sales tax benefits when the benefits were not entitled or authorized to be taken, or if they were in excess of the amounts authorized, if they happen to purchase unauthorized property or services exempt from tax, or if there's property or services that aren't used according to the terms that are in the project agreement. And the law does require project operators and agents to cooperate with the IDA in all of these recapture activities. In addition, failure by an entity that received the state sales tax benefits to pay them over to the IDA could result in an assessment of tax to the operator or the agent, and even with penalty and interest. So once any state sales tax benefits are recaptured by an IDA, they have to be remitted here to the tax department within 30 days. We did develop a form, actually a tax return for this. It's the ST-65 IDA report of recaptured sales and use tax benefits. It's just a short return paper. And it asks for just basic information about the project and the reason for the recapture and the tax amounts recaptured. The tax amounts are separately for any state sales tax, the 4% share, the local sales tax, generally 3 or 4%, depends on the locality. And there's also a section, if applicable, there's an additional 3/8% sales tax in the Metropolitan Commuter Transportation District. And if any of those amounts are recaptured, that's where it's reported. And just to note, this form and the payment is sent into our desk audit unit. It doesn't go to the same address that's on the ST-60 form for essentially all other correspondence that you have. Moving on to the fifth and the final general requirement is, again, with sales tax recapture. So under the law, the IDA has to prepare an annual compliance report, and this report details the terms and conditions for the recapture mentioned earlier, what those terms and conditions are that are in the agreements. This report also has to describe the actual efforts that the IDA undertook to recapture any of the state sales tax benefits. Obviously, we have another form for this. We like forms, and this compliance report is filed using our ST-62, the IDA Annual Compliance Report for state sales tax recapture. And on the form, it's basically a series of check boxes. The IDA certifies that it meets the requirements related to recapture of state sales tax benefits. The due date for this is 90 days after the end of the IDA's fiscal year. It's mailed to the IDA unit, same as before. The address is on the form. And I just want to note that the law does also require that a copy be sent to the New York State Director of the Budget, Commissioner of Economic Development, and to the State Controller, and also the municipality's governing body. So that's all I have to cover, essentially the 5 general requirements. I understand it's very high level. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Dean now. He's going to cover a requirement related to tax reporting by project operators and a couple other IDA notes and requirements.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dean Badar. I am with the Audit Division, Transaction Tax of Field Audit Management Group, and I hope you're enjoying the webinar today. We'd like to talk about some of the responsibilities of the project operators and agents that are directly appointed by the IDA. They are required to file an annual form, which is a report of sales and use tax exemptions claimed by that agent or project operator, and this is due by the last day of February. They need to include any operators or agents that they have appointed during their project, and they need to include any sales tax benefits that they took during that year also. We ask that you don't include sales tax exemptions that aren't based on the IDA's exempt status. And also, please only report the actual sales tax benefits, not value of goods and services purchased exempt. We'd like to remind you to remind your appointed operators and agents of these requirements and to file the Form ST-340 by the end of February. Some other sales tax requirements. The agents of an IDA should use the Form ST-123 to make qualified exempt purchases for the project, exempt from sales tax. Previously, TSBM 877S had instructed agents to provide suppliers with a letter from the IDA. The new exemption certificates supersede this advice. So we'd like to let you know, starting June 1st, 2014, the agent should be using the ST-123 or the FT-123, which would be for purchases of fuel being used on that project. As always, contractors that have not been appointed agents that might be working on the project, they can purchase tangible personal property which is installed at the project site on behalf of the agent or operator. They should use their normal exemption certificate, which is Form ST-120.1. Now we'd like to discuss a little bit about audits and noncompliance of the requirements. The tax department, they are authorized to audit the records, actions, and proceedings of an IDA and the agents to ensure the compliance with the required terms and conditions of their projects. Some of the consequences of failure to timely comply with the various filing requirements are as follows. We talked about the ST-60 form, the appointment of an agent or project operator. Failure to file this report, which includes the estimated amount of sales tax exemption benefits within 30 days of granting benefits, could result in the revocation of the IDA's authority to provide sales tax benefits for projects in the future. For the ST-62, which is the annual compliance report, which is due within 90 days of the end of the IDA's fiscal year, the IDA's authority to provide state sales tax benefits could be revoked if they don't comply with that. The ST-340, which is filed by the project operators and the agents, this is their annual report of the sales tax exemptions. The agent or the operator could lose their authority to act as an agent of the IDA and therefore lose the benefits going forward for the sales tax exemptions. In addition, the IDA is also required to post on their internet website free copies of resolutions and agreements for the projects that they do grant. Our top priority is voluntary compliance. We have developed new guidance and we have improved our processes. We've developed a dedicated IDA webpage, content, and a tax bulletin. We redid our IDA forms, the ST-60, the ST-62, and also ST-340. We have a new email subscription service just for the IDAs, and they can receive filing reminders and other important information. We've also streamlined our internal procedures for processing and tracking IDA forms. We'd like to remind you to please use and remind appointed agents to use the most current version of our forms, which are all available on our website. So in conclusion, this concludes our presentation. For more information, please visit our website at www.tax.ny.gov and search IDA for dedicated content and forms. Also, if you need telephone assistance, you can call our Sales Tax Information Center at 518-485-2889. And remember to please sign up for the IDA email subscription service. Simply visit our website and search subscribe. Okay, we've gone through a few questions and we'd like to provide some answers. We had a question on the form ST62. It said, if you did not need to recapture any sales tax benefits, do you still need to file the ST62? And the answer is yes. There is a checkbox on there that would say you didn't have to recapture any. Check that box. There's other information on there to confirm that the IDA is in compliance with other parts of the IDA law. So yes, you still need to file it. Also, there was a question about the ST62 about the addresses for the multiple agencies, and that was a very good question. We are going to look to update our guidance and include addresses for the other entities, Department of Budget, Economic Development, and OSC, so that will all be on that form and available for you. We also had a question about the ST340. If it is not filed timely by the project operator. If they do not file that timely, they could lose their benefits for future years of that project. That would be the consequences of that. So we will look at the rest of the questions. Some of them were a little more specific, and we will get back to you on those. We want to thank you for participating in the webinar. It certainly is not too late to ask a question if you still would like to. We will be online for shortly after this. We hope that you found it to be helpful. And please check your email. We're going to send out a survey and also information on when this webinar recording and other resources will be posted to our website.